The Americans have asked all American nationals, all US citizens to leave the airport, not be outside or near any gate. There is still clear and present danger. These are images you see of the twin blast outside the Hamid Karzai International Airport. Remember, there was specific intelligence alert, and that is why earlier this morning, not just the United States, but even the United Kingdom, Denmark and Australia issued a very specific advisory asking their nationals to stay away from the Hamid Karzai International Airport. They've been asked now to stay away till further notice. Taliban says this is a suicide attack. They've blamed the Islamic State Khorasan module for being responsible. The death toll as of now, 13 confirmed, more than 50 injured. Unfortunately and sadly, these figures are set to go up, and there are conflicting reports. Some reports seem to indicate that both the death toll and the number of injuries feared to be much higher than what is being reflected at this point of time. The first explosion was a suicide attack, from information that's now filtered out, confirmed by journalists on ground and by the US Embassy. We are told that the first appeared to be a suicide attack at the Abbey Gate of the Hamid Karzai International Airport, and this has resulted in a number of US and other civilian casualties. The second explosion took place near the Baron Hotel. Now, this is the hotel that was being used by British forces in Kabul. It's barely 200 yards, we are told, from the outer periphery of the airport. The twin blast took place at an interval of about 47 minutes. The official death toll as of now is 13 dead and 50 injured. The US Embassy has issued an advisory to all citizens to avoid coming anywhere close to the airport. In fact, the advisory went on to say those who are either at the Abbey Gate, East Gate or the other gates of the Hamid Karzai International Airport, they should just leave the gates, get into a building, get into safer localities and premises, and only come to the airport once an all clear has been declared, according to reports emerging from Kabul. Apart from the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia and Denmark had issued an advisory to all citizens, warning them that they should stay away. But what happened on ground? There are eyewitness accounts that are coming in. Let's quickly listen in.
دفعه انفجار شد. ما از بین او بیرون برآمده بودیم، دیدیم که بسیار مردم بود. همین که انفجار شد هر طرف مردم بود که تید پاشان شدن، مغزایشان باد شدن و همین نیروهای خارجی بودن که وام افتادن، چپه شدن. همون بود که درگیر گریز شدن. ما برآمدیم. مردم خب بسیار زیاد، حداقل هیچ کنه یک 400 500 نفر که من دیدم. بسیار قوی انفجار بود که نیمش در بین هم افتاد، نیمش در بیرون افتادن و در کراچی انتقال دادیم زخمی‌ها را. کمیال مکمل کل لباسای هم خون پاشید.
I'm go to now to hospital on the way. You see in the photo, in a video, the people are killed in this explosion to the airport area. Now I'm on the way, go to the emergency hospital, to the Kabul emergency hospital. You're waiting for the new report from India today. And also you see the people, they're civilian people, they want to travel to other countries. They're lining up outside the airport and they are killed by one explosion and outside of the airport.
There is still panic at the international airport, as you can see in these images. People are being advised to leave, but there are some who say they have nowhere else to go. Some are rudely being pushed away from the airport because of fears, of course, of an imminent, as it is being said by some. There could be, there are apprehensions about another strike. Incidentally, there's now a statement that's come from the chief spokesperson of the Taliban in Afghanistan, where they've said that the Islamic Emirate strongly condemns the bombing of civilians at the Kabul airport. The Taliban, incidentally, are trying to distance themselves from this blast, also from the responsibility, saying that the blast took place in an area that was the responsibility of the US forces. They were responsible for the security. The Islamic State is paying close attention to the security and protection of its people, and evil circles will be strictly stopped. Ambassador Vishnu Prakash joins me on the broadcast. We also have Mursal Noorzai, an Afghanistan expert, joining me on the broadcast. And Mursal Noorzai, of course, you're far away from the scene. You're in Europe, but what are you hearing? Are you able to contact friends and relatives? What are you hearing, ma'am?
I am constantly getting different numbers. Even the video you have just played, before they were saying there were only 13 to 14 casualties, and now the person in the video that you have played, he said in Dari language that there are 400 to 500 people died due to this attack. And I have a very weird feeling. The whole scenario 2 days ago, Mr. Boris Johnson is speaking with Joe Biden to extend the evacuation date. And then the Taliban is giving a threat and says that there will be consequences if the date will be extended. And I see this attack as a deliberate collaboration between Taliban and the ISK, Islamic State K version of, and I see this as a collaboration to increase fear and not to only stop them to extend the 31st of August evacuation, but also to make it finish before 31st of August. So this is, again, as I say, only innocent people are dying. Look at the videos, look at those children, look at those families. This is one big mistake, that one wrong mistake from Mr. Trump done 2018, the agreement that they have signed. The second mistake was that Mr. Joe Biden carried on with that decision.
Okay. Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, your appreciation of the situation. Of course, we're getting conflicting reports on the number of casualties, injuries and fatalities, but we're sticking to numbers that are officially being put out, because some of the reports that are emerging from Kabul are actually painting a rather horrifying image, sir. But would you say that ISIS and Taliban, as Mursal Noorzai fears, that they could be collaborating, or have they actually been at daggers drawn?
Good evening, Gaurav. I think that what Ms. Noorzai is saying is quite logical. Let us look at it slightly more closely. The US and the Western countries have been issuing warnings of a suicide attack. Where did they get their intelligence from? Was that intelligence shared? What is the purpose of a suicide attack at this juncture? It is clearly to send a message to the US and the allies that, look, please leave the country by the 31st of August, or there are going to be consequences. Now, what has happened is that the Taliban is calling the shots. Now, whosoever has carried out that attack, in these situations, deniability is the first thing. Yes. Say, no, I have not done that. What is the purpose? The purpose is to show that US and the others are weak, that Taliban is calling the shots. And what this happens when a big power blinks, that fear factor is gone. They know that there will be no consequences. But yes, the sad part is when we say how many people have died, it just shows that Afghan lives are a number.
Yes.
It's a number. It is so chilling that third world or the countries, developing countries, people there are just a number, and this is the big game being played. Whosoever has done that, what we are seeing is a very sorry state of affairs, but there will be no accountability, and only Afghan innocent lives will be lost. That is what is going to happen.
Mursal Noorzai, Taliban says they've condemned the attack. They've called it a terrorist attack. Taliban, they've issued a statement blaming the Islamic State, the Khorasan module, as you also pointed out. And they are saying that the Americans had intelligence that the ISIL would try and target the airport. Now, after this, will Afghans who are desperate to escape, will they be able to leave, or will the focus only be to get all the foreigners out and the Afghans will be at the mercy of the Taliban?
Well, how odd it is already that Taliban that Taliban, being a terrorist organization, is saying that there is a terror attack. Wow, applaud for them. And applaud to us that we actually believe this, that one terrorist is saying that there will be a terrorist attack. Firstly. Secondly, there are so many checkpoints. Taliban are not letting everyone getting near to the airport without checking the cars. We have proofs. We have seen people who has come on air and who has spoken their journey, how they came or how they have arrived to the airport. So how come if Taliban is completely denying the fact that they do not know how that this attack is from the Islamic State K, and they have no idea and they have nothing to do. Well, you were on the checkpoint, so what
Yes.
happened? Did you let them go? Did they
That's
come
a
from
fair
the
point.
air? So
That's a
you
fair
need
point.
to-
That's a fair point.
Exactly.
So
And secondly,
this,
now
go on,
Taliban,
ma'am.
just one more point. And secondly, now Taliban is playing the good cap, bad cap game. So they want to show that, oh, there is a terrorist their organization, which is ISK. I am the good guy and I will save Afghans from them. You need to listen to me. Taliban are good people.
That's a very
So this is the
pertinent
whole
point.
game.
Very, very pertinent point that you bring out, ma'am. And before I come for more on this and stay, we'll talk about this in greater detail. There's a senior journalist joining us from the heart of Kabul. We have Muhammad Hamid Hamdard, the chief editor of Heart of Asia, joining us from Kabul. What can you tell us, sir? What's the current situation on ground?
So, hello everyone. As you heard, recently in more than 50% hospital emergency, Kabul emergency hospital, and around 20 people are killed over there. And among them, 3 of United States troops was also among of those people who were killed. And in social media, the people who catch the video from the area is really impressive. There is more from the a big, huge strategy, and all the people who are living around the area is they hear the sound and a very high sound was there, and much more people injured and killed there.
Okay. Okay, and we are now being told, sir, stay with me, Muhammad Hamid Hamdard. We are just now being told that the death toll has gone up to 4040. This is the information that's coming in, and that was the apprehension just a short while back, that the death toll would rise because the number of people who were present there when the blast took place. But Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, that's a very pertinent point that Mursal Nurzai raises, that there are multiple checkpoints. The Taliban are checking everyone before they come anywhere close to the airport. How could any individual, if it's being blamed on the Islamic State Khorasan module, how could they come to the airport with so many explosives? The death toll has touched 40 is the alarming picture that's coming in at this point of time, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash.
You know, I will doff my hat to Ms. Nurzai. What she says is absolutely logical. Look at the sorry state of affairs. It's a recipe for disaster, and we see the disaster. The Americans are controlling the airport. Perimeter security is with the Taliban. There is little or no coordination. And she's so right that at every few kilometers, or I don't know, maybe hundreds of meters, there are checkpoints. People are not being allowed to come to the airport. Only those that Taliban clears are coming.
Yes.
So if with that kind of a scrutiny, how is it that so many they manage to bring in explosives? And that is the whole point. The point really is that the deniability is an integral part of warfare. And it is nothing but a stark warning to the US and the allies to get out of Afghanistan And normally, a big power does not take kindly to warnings, but
Yes.
well, these are different circumstances.
Mohammad Hamid Hamdard, is the deadline for the US troops to leave or for all foreign troops to leave, that deadline remains? What is the latest situation at the airport? Are flights taking off or has work come to a complete standstill, sir? Okay, I'll try and reestablish that link with Muhammad Hamid Hamdard, the chief editor of Heart of Asia, who joined us live from Kabul. But the death toll has gone up to 40, according to Afghan government officials. That's the information that's coming in. It's coming in through officials from Taliban briefing journalists in Kabul. We are also told that the United States will have a press conference or a briefing in just a short while from now. US President Joe Biden has been briefed. Nurzai, will there be pressure, and will the US or foreign powers, will they be desperate now to leave by the 31st of August and not seek an extension at all? So in all of this, whatever was the aim has been achieved with this terror strike.
It has been achieved. It have been achieved, and Mr. Joe Biden was anyways not going to extend, or were not agreeing. There were mixed news that was coming yesterday and today. First they said we will not extend it, and then they said, well, Taliban is agreeing that they will extend, they will let us extend the evacuation date. So there were mixed news coming from them, from both sides. And then with this event happening today, it's a clear message to the whole world that, oh, we allowed to extend the evacuation. The Taliban will claim this. Then Joe Biden will say, well, we did try our best, but the circumstances did not allow us.
Yes.
Well, sir, your circumstances and your decisions has killed so many people today.
Oh, absolutely. Today and in the past several days, just how ham-handed these operations have been so far. But Mursal Nurzai had, raised a very pertinent point, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. And that was, blame the Islamic State and the Taliban will look better. The Taliban will look like saviors taking on the Islamic State. Could that be the entire game plan, as Mursal Nurzai raises the point?
Well, it seems. And look how convenient it is. And actually very pertinently and graphically said, Taliban saying that it was a terror attack. Taliban condemning a terror attack. Yes, if it is not good cop, bad cop, then what is it? But having said that, there is also a fact that the Taliban is not monolithic.
Yes.
We do not know who is in, who is out. We do not know where the real power rests, whether it rests in Kabul, whether it rests in Rawalpindi, whether it rests with the old Taliban, new Taliban, orthodox Taliban, moderate Taliban, if there is any. The long and short of it is that it is confusion, confounded, because nobody is willing to take responsibility. There is no coordination. And at the end of the day, again, the sad fact is that it is the people of Afghanistan who are caught between the rock and the hard place. Stay, they are in trouble. Leave, they are in trouble. Can you imagine? And I've said that on your channel earlier. Have you ever seen a military aircraft taking off from a runway with people on the runway?
Oh, absolutely.
And it can only happen because it is Afghanistan, and educated people clinging to the aircraft and falling to their death just shows how desperate people are. But question is, who has made them desperate?
Oh, absolutely. And the situation that's now emerging at hospitals, very alarming situation. We have Muhammad Hamid Hamdard once again. And, Mr. Hamdard, if you could tell us, are hospitals able to cope with the situation right now? Do we have a figure on the injuries, sir?
Based my previous information, the emergency hospital have the ability to cure the patients or injured peoples, and the acting minister of public health with the Taliban governments. In at the first day, they announced to all the doctor in hospital should be in their duty. I hope all of them will be in duty and can cure the injury people.
Oh, absolutely. And our colleague has just sent us this report from Kabul. Let's take a look.
This guy is injured in this explosions. You see, I want to go to hospital in my car. This is my car, and this guy is injured in the explosion today in airport area. There is not place for some injured and killed people. I want to travel and displace this injured people to other hospital from emergency of Kabul. You see the report from India today, Kabul, Nabi Sultan. We stand here outside the hospital, emergency of Kabul. We try to make a report from Kabul emergency. There's a lot of people, they're running out of the area, airport area. They're injured and killed, and some guys come here in the hospital. We try to make a report, but unfortunately the Taliban, they didn't take a permission to journalists to make a report. Nabi Sultani make report from Kabul, India today.
Through the day today, people were desperate. People were desperate. These are, of course, images that we are getting to you, live images that are coming in from Kabul, where people are trying to go to a hospital, trying to find out about the well-being of their near and dear ones, but no information filtering out. Also because of security, they're extremely scared about who can be permitted in and who cannot. And these are emergency vehicles that are bringing the injured to hospitals. 40 dead is the information that is coming in. It is now confirmed. One suicide attack, the second blast, and of course apprehensions that there are other suicide attackers. So still not all clear. Mursal Nurzai, can you explain for the benefit of our viewers this desperation that people were being asked to stay away from airports, and yet people were coming there in large numbers. Now people are being asked to leave. There has been a blast, and yet people are saying we have nowhere else to go.
Well, you need to understand what has happened between 1996 and 2001, and also after that was so terrifying that death threats and terror threats does not bring any kind of fear in Afghan minds. Afghans are so strong-headed. They have seen so many wars that any kind of threat, we knew that things will get worse, and that was the main reason of the desperation. We knew, and even now, this is nothing. This is nothing. Wait and watch. There will be more coming. There will be more terror attacks, and one will blame on the other. And at the end, innocent people will die. And that the reason of the desperation is because people have seen between 1996 and 2001 what has happened, how many people have died.
Oh, absolutely. And Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, this is the panic. This is the fear. You were mentioning people clinging on to aircraft, and that is because they are dying whether they leave or they're dying if they stay.
And they are dying, and they are getting killed, and they are getting injured. Why? Because they believed in promises that have been made. That because they assisted big powers, because they believed in what was assured to them. And now what is panning out is that every country is trying to get its own citizens. But what happens to the Afghans? Nobody is willing to talk of that. They are being left behind. Taliban is not letting them move out. The countries that had promised them safety,
yes,
are shrugging their shoulders. So, while this tragedy is playing out, and again, I think I would agree with Ms. Nuzai that the way the portents are not good at all. If this is how it is going to, this is an indication of the things to come, I think we can shudder at what is in store for Afghanistan. But Question, Gaurav, is that will the other countries learn a lesson?
No, but do they even want to learn a lesson, or have they just written Afghanistan off? They don't care.
That is what I was going to add, that unfortunately nobody learns the lessons and says, look, it will not happen to me. But it is again, I mean, there is a sense of helplessness in my voice, but it is because you see this tragedy and you see that nobody is taking responsibility.
Yes.
And everybody is just looking the other way. Very sad, Gaurav, but that is how the real world is.
It indeed is. And when we are trying to explain the panic through the day today, I'll show you some images, and I urge viewer discretion. I urge caution, because these images are alarming. An Australian citizen was beaten up and brutalized by the Taliban as he tried to get to the airport and flee. Let's listen in.
They hit me, but I'm Australian citizen. They hit me, but see, this happened to me when I was crossing airport.
We urge viewer discretion, and I want you to take a look at these images once again. Hear this man. Hear what this man is saying. Hear the fear in his voice.
I'm Australian citizen. They hit me, but see, this happened to me when I was crossing airport. They hit me, but I'm Australian.
So as this crisis continues to unfold in India, the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, he briefed the floor leaders of opposition parties. So 37 leaders of 31 parties, they were briefed on India's strategy. But will these events actually force a change in India's strategy? India's focus is safety and evacuation of all our citizens. So 800 people, including 220 Indians, have been evacuated under Operation Devi Shakti so far. The government has asked opposition parties to approach the situation with unity, and the opposition has actually promised the government just that. This is what happened earlier today.
Chaos, deaths, anarchy, mad rush to escape Afghanistan, looming Taliban deadline and terror threat. Time running out for evacuation and escape. Thousands still await flight to freedom. India's mission evacuation meeting mixed success and uncertainty over its future Afghan policy. Amid an emerging foreign policy time bomb, the Modi government is keeping the opposition in the loop, with a crucial all-party huddle to elaborate on India's way ahead in the Afghanistan quagmire and its strategy to deal with Taliban in the neighborhood. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar briefed the floor leaders in Parliament House Annex. The Modi government maintains that evacuation of Indians and allies from the war-torn country remains top priority. Speaking on India's ongoing evacuation plan, Operation Devi Shakti, Jaishankar said that the centre is trying its best to evacuate as many people as possible.
Our focus is on evacuation, and the government is doing everything to ensure that we bring back our people. The friendship with the Afghan people is something which matters to all of us. So we approach this situation very much in a spirit of, I would say, national unity.
The opposition, while acknowledging the massive challenges faced by India, asked the centre to get its act together.
Steps taken by the government so far to evacuate the Indian nationals, and government is engaged with all other necessary steps that are required to be taken in the interest of our country.
They told that they are trying every day
200, 150, 300, like that they will bring. So let us see when they are going to bring. Unless they bring, we can't give fully certified.
India, with millions of dollars worth of investments and people-to-people contact with Afghanistan, is placed in an unenviable position, trying to streamline its response to the new reality in Kabul, mulling if it can choose to side with the democratic government or establish contact with Taliban. Its safest bet may be a wait-and-watch approach in coordination with the global community, while beefing up its own security apparatus to meet any terror challenge. Bureau Report, India Today.
So there are a number of Indians who are still trapped in Afghanistan. Will India be able to bring everyone back by the 31st August deadline? And Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, if I may, will we be able to retrieve all our people, or will after this, that entire operation, it's so uncertain, it will become so difficult because we don't know how long will the Americans stay, how long will there be an ATC, what happens to our people still in Afghanistan?
Well, Gaurav, we have a very difficult situation on hands. It is just that we have a lot of experience in evacuating our citizens, and we are doing the best possible under the circumstances. We are coordinating with everybody. We have managed to get most of our people out, but then not everybody is in Kabul. The means of communications are difficult, movement is difficult, Taliban is not exactly being supportive. So yes, there are challenges. And that is all the more reason that if there is at all a possibility, we have to have a line of communication with the Taliban.
Yes.
Because if we do not have a line of communication, even in dire circumstances and in emergencies, we will have to depend on third countries.
But
and the countries that are...
Ms. Nurzai, this is exactly perhaps what the Taliban wants. Now, the entire world will be virtually falling over themselves, trying to talk to the Taliban, reach out to the Taliban, even if it means trying to get their own people out. And this is where the situation becomes exactly what the Taliban wants. Okay, let me try and reestablish that link with her. This situation is extremely grim at this point of time. Incidentally, these are images from earlier this evening. There are also very horrifying images from ground zero. And information coming in, there are 140 Afghan Sikhs and Hindus stranded in Kabul after the blast. 20 Indian nationals are also stranded in Kabul. The 20 Indian nationals are the last of those who had reached out to Government of India seeking evacuation. There may be more, but they are still unable to reach out to the government, or there may be others who still do not want to come back to India. But the information is 140 Afghan Sikhs and Hindus are stranding in Kabul. In fact, some of them tried to come to the airport, but they were stopped by the Taliban, and they are presently at the Karte Parwan Gurudwara Sahib at Kabul. My colleague Rahul Kanwal spoke to one of them. Let's listen in.
हम लोग अभी गुरुद्वारा में हैं, सब लोग अभी काबुल के एयरपोर्ट पे ब्लास्ट हुआ है
जी,
और हम सुबह 5 बजे तक वेट कर रहे थे जाने के लिए, बट अंदर नहीं जाने दिया गया। कि हम लोग गुरुद्वारा के अंदर ही हैं, लेकिन सेफ हैं, अभी ऐसा कोई यहाँ पे लड़ाई नहीं है। हम लोग फ्लाइट के लिए वेट कर रहे थे और अंदर तालिबानों ने जाने नहीं दिया, और फिर उन्होंने हमें वापस भेज दिया। हमारे पास गुरु ग्रंथ साहब भी थे, हमारे जो होली बुक है, और फायरिंग शुरू कर दी। वहाँ पे उन्होंने हवाई फायरिंग करके सबको भगा दिया। तालिबान ने हवाई फायरिंग की, बहुत सारी बसेस थी। हामिद करजई एयरपोर्ट जो है इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट, उसका मेन गेट उन्होंने टेक ओवर कर लिया, और अभी उन्होंने आज रात को 12 बजे अनाउंस किया है कि जो अफगानी नागरिक हैं उनको हम बाहर जाने नहीं देंगे।
I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for more on this story. Geeta, so these 20 Indians and 140 Afghan Sikhs and Hindus and others who want to come to India, but they are stranded. What next, Geeta? How will they be brought back now? what's the next course of action?
Now, Indian side is mulling as to how to get them to the airport. The security situation is dire, so till the time there is no clarity, Gaurav, on the security situation on the ground. There can be no flights that will be landing in Kabul, since the biggest challenge is not for the flights to reach Kabul airport and fly out of Kabul, but to get the Indian nationals and the Afghan Sikhs and Hindus to the Kabul airport. There are some other Afghan friends also who the Indian side might be looking at evacuating, but most of them have had a very difficult time trying to get to the airport and get inside the airport. With the terror threats and the security alerts, it seems like for now the Afghan Hindus and the Afghan Sikhs will have to wait. But for India, what is absolutely of primary concern are the 20 Indian nationals. They're the last of those who had sent in requests to be evacuated. We're being told that there could be some others who still haven't reached out, and there are some who want to stay back and do not want to return. But of all those who had requested, most of them have been out. There are only 20 left. So that's a commendable work done by the Indian side on evacuating Indian nationals. The numbers are far lesser than Americans. But for America and for many other foreign embassies, it has been an uphill task, way greater than India, although Indians have been on the target of elements that have infiltrated the city of Kabul, including Pak-based terror groups.
Oh, absolutely. And Geeta, this is where the threat becomes huge. And if I could quickly bring in Ambassador Vishnu Prakash into this conversation, unless people are brought out immediately, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, the tragedy is that some of them could be taken hostage and there could then be a bigger hostage crisis at hand.
Well, that is unfortunately a danger that cannot be ruled out. But, Gaurav, we also have another challenge here. And when it comes to people of Indian origin, the Sikhs and the Hindus who are American Afghan nationals, we come into a difficult territory here, because if the Afghans say, or the Taliban says that they will not allow their nationals to leave, it becomes difficult for us to get them out. Absolutely. So that is going to be a very big challenge. When it comes to Indian nationals, Indian passport holders, we have a right to get them out. But when it comes to Afghan nationals of Indian origin, we need the cooperation of Taliban. And now there's a question mark over whether they will allow or not allow.
And there's breaking news coming in. Stay with me, Ambassador Geeta, if you're with us. Stay with us for a moment. News just coming in. The French President Emmanuel Macron has promised full support to the US and allies in response to the Kabul blast. And not just that, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, she's cancelled a trip to Israel. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is chairing an emergency meeting on the road ahead. More breaking news, very disturbing news that's coming in. Remember, we told you the death toll is 40. Amongst the 40 are 4 US Marines. 4 US Marines were killed. 3 US Marines were wounded at the Hamid Karzai International Airport complex in this series of terror strikes that rocked Kabul. I want to cut across to our Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for more on this. Geeta, 4 US Marines amongst 40 killed, and Joe Biden had warned Taliban in case US lives were lost, there will be consequences.
Well, that's right. Indeed, a very disturbing news. In fact, the visuals that we see, the footage that we're seeing from on the ground is absolutely disturbing. And we do know that there have been casualties when it comes to U.S. forces as well. Like you said, the Germans have reacted, the French have reacted. The international community now has to look at if there is some action that can be taken, needs to be taken, Gaurav, with regards to the terror threats that faces not just Afghans but the global community, given that there are so many foreign nationals who are yet to be evacuated. We are yet to see some action from or decision on acting against these elements on the ground by the United States of America. But certainly there would be, in the coming days, some mulling by the international community and decision making over whether if absolute withdrawal by 31st of August is just about the thing that the international community should be doing.
Okay, Ambassador, now that you've seen that the world community is saying we stand with the US, there are meetings being held, does the US have a response, or will they just seek the safe passage, request Taliban to give a safe passage, maybe an extension, get all their people out, and then unfortunately leave the people of Afghanistan to suffer?
For the sake of humanity and for the sake of international law and order, and also to put some fear in the minds of those who act against humanity, I really hope that the US and the allies get back the lost, retrieve the lost ground to an extent, and send a clear message to the Taliban or whosoever has perpetrated this, that there's going to be cost. Unless you take the fight to their court, unless you let them know that these kind of activities will not go unanswered, I think we are heading towards anarchy. I really hope that at least now, okay. I'm not at all saying that there should be, a war should break out, but I think a message has to be sent to Taliban that this far and no further.
Thus far and no further. Will this message be sent out? Because remember, there is fear writ large, and there is fear for the entire region, not just for Afghanistan. Of course, the hapless people of Afghanistan, they'll be the worst sufferers, but other neighbors. Pakistan, for example, their Prime Minister Imran Khan may be gloating for now, saying that they've broken the shackles of slavery, but perhaps Pakistan will be the first victim of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Remember, thousands of their fighters have been released by Taliban from multiple prisons. And then China is extremely worried about the East Turkestan Islamic movement. And of course, India with Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and other radical Islamist terrorist organizations. Take a look at this report. The worst terror attack on Pakistani soil. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan terrorists, once trained, armed and launched by Pakistan's ISI, turned on their masters and attacked Army Public School Peshawar on December 16, 2014, killing more than 140 Pakistan Army school children, teachers and staff. As Taliban advanced towards Kabul, thousands of terrorists and fighters in jails in Kandahar, Kabul and Bagram were released by Taliban commanders. These include the notorious former TTP Deputy Commander Mullah Fakir Muhammad. Amongst the 5,000 Al-Qaeda, Taliban and Islamic State fighters released are more than 2,300 fighters of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. And security analysts in Pakistan are now extremely worried.
पाकिस्तान ने अफगान पीस के लिए बहुत काम किया, साथ चाइना के खिलाफ भी नहीं, किसी मुल्क के खिलाफ भी नहीं किया। तालिबान को अपनी इस बात पे स्टिक करना चाहिए। लेकिन मैं कल एक जलालुद्दीन हक्कानी का भी इंटरव्यू पढ़ रहा था और देख भी रहा था, जो बहुत प्रोमिनेंट फिगर है तालिबान के अंदर, लेकिन उससे जब ये सवाल पाकिस्तानी कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट ने किया तो उसने उसका बड़ा गोलमोल सा, कुछ इस्लाम को रिलेट करके बड़ा गोलमोल सा जवाब दिया।
Pakistan Army has repeatedly pleaded with the Taliban leadership it harbored and nurtured for decades to at least spare Pakistan. The TTP has sworn allegiance to the Taliban in Afghanistan.
सिर्फ पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ नहीं है, इसमें चाइना भी शामिल है, रशिया भी शामिल है, ईरान भी शामिल है। ETLM है जो आपको पता है कि चाइना में कार्रवाई कर, चाइना में कहते हैं कि वो वहाँ पे दहशतगर्दी फैलाती थी।
China is equally worried. On the 28th of July, a 9-member Taliban delegation led by Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, travelled to Tianjin to meet Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister and state councillor. China is extremely upset with Pakistan for a series of terror attacks on Chinese interests in Pakistan, and especially the attack on Chinese engineers and workers on the Dasu Dam project on the 14th of July. China has promised Taliban assistance on the condition it will cut off all ties with the East Turkestan Islamic Movement or the ETIM.
ज़्यादातर जो लोग रिहा हुए हैं अफ़गानिस्तान ने जो जेल रिहा किया लोगों को, उसमें ज़्यादातर टीटीपी के लोग थे। मौलवी फ़कीर मोहम्मद बाजावल रीजन से उसका ताल्लुक़ है, काफ़ी एक लीडिंग रोल था कोई 10-12 साल पहले जब अरेस्ट नहीं हुए थे। ये पाकिस्तान के लिए बड़ा चैलेंजिंग है, हालात पहले से ज़्यादा सेंसिटिव हैं।
The rest of Xinjiang province shares a 75-kilometer long border with Afghanistan, and Beijing is worried that ETIM, affiliated to the Al-Qaeda and operating in diverse areas from Syria to Afghanistan, could create problems in Xinjiang with the reportedly persecuted Muslim population of over 10 million. There are no indications yet that Taliban is taking action against either TTP or ETIM. In Delhi, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.